Congressman Mike Turner is working to combat the heroin epidemic, and he just recently introduced the CRIB Act, and he joins us this morning to talk more about what he was doing yesterday. Good morning. Welcome in again this morning.
Thank you for having me.
And we talked about this. You brought you introduced the CRIB Act, I should say, back in May, and yesterday you were talking more about the heroin epidemic. This is something that you've been talking about really since December of 2013.
Right. This obviously is a scourge on our community. I had Congressman Jim Sensenbrenner in yesterday, who has been the architect of the legislation that has passed the House and been signed by the President on the issue of heroin. Now, the CRIB Act is an act that's trying to get to the difficult issue of the heroin epidemic is impacting some of the most vulnerable in our community. When you go to local hospitals, they will tell you the stories of people who are addicted to heroin, who are having babies who themselves are addicted to heroin. We're trying to get aid and assistance to them. The CARE Act, which was passed and signed in July by the President of the United States, provides additional funding for treatment and additional assistance for first responders. We had a meeting yesterday of pulling the communities together about that funding and how we can prepare our local communities to position ourselves so that we're competitive for those funds.
And we were talking a little bit before we came on. What do you expect kind of the timeline? CRIB Act, obviously something you introduced back in May. What do you expect the timeline for this all today?
You know, nationally, everyone understands that we have a heroin epidemic, and with all the lives that are being lost, the legislation that is being put forward to try to provide additional funding for prevention, for treatment, for intervention, are all on a fast track. However, Congress obviously, as a result of the election period, with the national elections, are probably not going to be taking action on the next bulk of these bills until next year. I'm working with Senator Brown on the CRIB Act, so we have both bipartisan and bicameral work on this important bill that I think will go right to the heart of trying to help babies born with addiction.
Yeah, you said fast track. This is something that we talked about. You've been championing really since 2013. How has the urgency kind of shifted on this problem, this growing problem over the years?
Well, in the beginning, the issue was that people understood that people were overdosing. We saw these in our communities, but still people did not understand the extent of which it would grow across the country. You know, heroin is such an addictive drug, and it's such a life-destroying drug that people believe that the prevention message of don't do heroin would work. But the back door to heroin really is prescription drugs, and that's what we didn't have a real good handle on, is that people were making choices by taking heroin that we need to help them before they took that step.
And the focus for you shifts tomorrow to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. What are you going to be doing tomorrow?
Right. I have Loretta Sanchez in. She's the Democrat ranking member with me on the Air and Land Subcommittee of Armed Services. We're going to be focusing on how to grow Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, how to support the Air Force, and of course the important issue of national security.
And obviously such an important fabric to this community, for sure. All right, Congressman, thanks so much for coming in again.
Thank you.